Hello friends, and welcome to last night's table. Yesterday was another off week for a usual Chaos and Fists Dungeons & Dragons game, but a few of us still got together to play a game anyway. So this game we played is a bit offbeat and one that I absolutely adore. It's called Dread, and is played with a Jenga tower. It sounds pretty wild, but the gist is that the GM is telling a story, typically a horror story, and as the players want to perform actions to avoid some sort of negative consequence, they must pull blocks from a Jenga tower. If a player knocks over the tower, then they're removed from the game. Usually this means they died, but it's not always strictly speaking the case. Character creation is done through a short questionnaire that's tailored to the story the GM is running. It's a short interview, normally not more than 10 questions long, and I like to just have a bit of a conversation with the player to find out what makes their character tick. This streamlines things and means that you can throw the cast together in about 5 minutes per player. But that's it. There's no stats or dice rolling or anything at all like that in this game. If you're into the collaborative storytelling that a role-playing game has to offer, then this is just about it in its purest form. There's two key parts that I really like about this game. First and foremost is that the name of the game, Dread, is apt. The Jenga tower is a physical representation of the rising tensions in the story, and as silly as it might sound, it's been the most effective tool I've had to set atmosphere for a game. Second is that it's as close to a zero prep game as I've ever played, which was an absolute plus since I only had about an hour to get ready for it yesterday. So when you're looking too closely at the story and you find holes or dead-end threads that seem to go nowhere, I hope you don't judge me too harshly, as this was basically all just improv. Our group had just 3 players in it last night, and we decided we were going to go ham with accents and voices and such. I'm going to do my best to do them justice, but you'll probably have a laugh along with me as I try to keep them up. Okay, here we go. Bone Gulch, Wyoming Territory, 1867. 2 years since North and South tore themselves all asunder through bitter conflict. Bone Gulch was a boom town gone bust. The silver mine that was the town's lifeblood dried up. Like tumbleweed, most of the folk round uprooted and drifted away. But a stubborn few, and very few of that, held on to the town. Let's take a look at the players dancing across this stage. The Gunslinger, Aloysius P. Caldwell. I fought for the North, a once proud bluecoat. I championed the cause against human bondage. One day, afore a raid against the renegades, I caught wind of the brass strategy. The black infantry were going to advance on the camp with little cover and heavy losses. Their distraction would provide the cavalry a chance to circle round the camp, catching the enemy by surprise. I thought the losses would be too severe and challenged my superior officer to a duel. I drew down on him. A new stratagem was devised, but all the same I earned myself a dishonorable discharge. Cashiered, I now spend my days in the saloon of Bone Gulch, the closest thing this town has to the law. The homesteader, Giselle Buchanan. I settled my ranch near Bone Gulch during the boom. Of course, that boom was nothing more than a flash in the pan, and my ranch is withering up along with everyone else. Still, I'm stubborn, and I won't give up on my land for hell or high water, or even beasts. One night, I was startled awake by my horses all in a panic. I rushed out with my coach gun, but was too late to save several of my herd. They were mutilated, a gruesome sight indeed. Near the stables I found a queer set of tracks, prints in the shape of a beast with one step and a man's the next. I kept a close eye on my herd from then on, but the blow was struck. Today I'm riding to Bone Gulch to purchase feed, on credit. The Traveler, Teresa McCluskey. My twin brother Terrence and I grew up in Iowa. We were close as children until one night Terrence felt called out to the woods. There was an eerie sort of whistling through the grove as I followed my brother into the trees, only soon as I caught up to him the whistling had stopped. Terrence was a bit odd after that, but never spoke of what he had seen in the woods. Years later brings us to today, when Terrence left town with no word to his dear sister apart from a hastily scribbled note saying he was headed for Bone Gulch, and that I shouldn't try to follow him. Not wanting to be parted from my brother and alarmed by his sudden departure, I packed up what things I could, and so I stepped off the platform in Bone Gulch, last whistle stop on this spur line, with nothing more than a lithograph of my dear Terrence, $5 cash, and my mother's pearl-handled revolver. Teresa was immediately struck by how desolate this town was. Nothing more than dilapidated storefronts, many not even bothered to be shuttered up. There's one horse posted at the saloon, and one other pulling a rancher's cart down the thoroughfare. What on earth had possessed Terrence to come to such a desolate place, she couldn't help wondering. Still, she clutched at her luggage and entered the saloon. Working the bar was a Mr. Rickers, perhaps the only halfway successful person in town. Rickers was currently helping himself to a libation while he was tidying up. One patron sat in the saloon all wrapped up in a leather duster with 2 pistols at his hip. Teresa got the impression this man was dangerous, and was glad he kept his hat real low so she wouldn't have to meet his gaze. "Excuse me, sir," she piped up as she produced her brother's lithograph. "I'm looking for this man here. Have you seen him? He's my brother." "Well, shoot, young lady. We don't get a whole lot of new faces in Bone Gulch. Let me take a look here now. Oh, yes, I did see this young man passing through. Now, where did he say he was off to again? Oh, that's right. He said he has some sort of business up at the silver mine. Queer thing, come to think of it. Ain't no one got any business up there since the mine gone bust." "Oh, thank goodness. So he was here after all. How can I get to the mine?" "Well, hold on just a second there, missy. You look like you had yourself a long train ride today. Why don't you take yourself a moment here and have some refreshment? I got pale ale and corn liquor, whatever y'all's poison is." "Well, I am rather parched. A sarsaparilla would do just fine right about now." "Sarsaparilla? I think I might have something here under the bar." Rickers starts searching under the counter before producing a dusty bottle. "Ah, here we are." A great cloud of dust rolls off the bottle. "Oh, goodness, I don't suppose I could have it in a clean glass." "Well, of course, dear," Rickers declares as he spits into the glass and buffs it out with the towel. Just then the saloon doors opened. "Mr. Rickers, I know you ain't trying to pawn off that ancient sarsaparilla on this poor woman. That ain't fit for consumption." "Well, Giselle Buchanan, you know a man's got to move his inventory. Now, what can I do you for? Here to buy a feed of yours? On credit, I imagine." "You know it's a hard time, Mr. Rickers. Hard times for everyone around here." "Hard times for me, too, you know, and I still ain't seen your silver since the last order I placed for you." "Well, shoot, Rickers, you know I'm good for it, don't you?" Mr. Rickers takes a moment to consider. The gears are turning. Would he extend Giselle's credit once again? It seems he's come to a decision, and just as he opens his mouth, the door to the saloon bursts open and a disheveled prospector comes rushing in. "You wishes you in here? It's them Kelly boys again." The gunman in the corner leans back in his chair, lifting the brim of his hat to regard the intruder. "Is that you there, Ned? What kind of troubles Jim Kelly got himself into now? Ain't no cattle left to be rustling." "It's the Carruthers. I seen 'em ride up on the farm and gun down poor Frank. Then they scooped up his wife and lit out, riding for them hills." "How many?" "Must have been 8 of them. I think it was the whole gang out today." Aloysius considers for a moment, nods, and then rises from his seat. "All right. Come on, Ned. You're coming with me to round up a posse." Giselle pipes up. "You can count on me, too. I'm sure it ain't much fun killing them Kelly boys, but they seem to need it." "Be glad to have you. You too, Rickers. Grab your Winnie and let's hit the trail." "Oh, hell no. I ain't going out there just to get done down like some damn fool. I'm a businessman, not some gunfighter." "All right. Suit yourself. Let's go, Ned." "Well, now, just a minute here. If Rickers don't gotta come, why you making me go?" "'Cause, Ned, you're a witness. You seen them killers draw down on Carruthers, and you seen which way they lit out to." "Ah, hellfire. I guess there ain't no point in protesting. You just drags me out anyways."
Excuse me. Is that silver mine in those hills? I have to find my brother, so I'm going to be coming too."
"Like hell. I won't have no lady's blood on my conscience." "Well, hang on there. What about my blood?" "You ain't no lady."
"Well, that's just horse pucky. I'm armed, you know. I can take care of myself if it comes down to it."
"I guess I can't stop you if you want to get yourself killed." The 4 of them set out from Bone Gulch: Caldwell, Buchanan, McCluskey, and Old Ned. Ned and Caldwell have their own horses, and Teresa hitches a ride with Giselle's cart. Still, their 4 guns to Jim Kelly's 8 aren't great odds at all. They plan on meeting Moses, another homesteader, to help even the odds. Along the way, they cross paths with an Arapaho trapper, Wate Ukenaha, or as the white man calls him, Bear Killer. They explain the situation to him. He agrees that something must be done about the Kelly boys, and he joins the posse. It's getting to be full dark by the time the posse arrives on Moses' land. As they approach his log cabin, a gunshot rings out, nearly taking Giselle's head with it. "Next one takes you off your horse," Who's skulking about in the dark there?
God damn it, Moses! You almost killed me pulling a stunt like that.
That you, Buchanan?
Yes, it's me, you idiot!
Huh. Well now, can't be too careful these days. Dark days is what they is.
Y'all want to put away them horses and come on out the night and talk like civilized folk?
Ned volunteers to put the horses in the barn while everyone else goes inside. The night is getting brisk, and they're grateful to be by the fire. They explain the situation, the murder of Frank Carruthers and the abduction of Carol. Moses agrees to help, but there's no sense in wandering about in the dark. They'll head out at first light. Moses seems uneasy, though, and insists that they should keep a watch. Them Kelly boys could be on a spree, and it wouldn't do to catch them unawares. It doesn't seem too likely to the posse. Aloysius is sure that they've gone to ground, but Giselle and Bearkiller agree to take shifts in the night to keep an eye on things. Some hours into the night, the sun has long since set, but by the light of the full moon, there's a clear view of Moses' land. Teresa's woken up in the night by the sound of something rustling outside. She looks around and sees Giselle leaned up against the wall next to the window, gently snoring. The rustling continues. Sounds like it's coming from around the barn. Figuring Ned found himself a bottle of shine and fell in with the horses, Teresa decides she ought to go check on him. Still, though, something tells her she ought to keep Giselle's coach gun close, just in case. She approaches the barn, and she's only a few steps away when the rustling turns to a blood-curdling scream. Ah! Help me!
Hold on, Ned, I'm coming.
Teresa runs at the door, and she's only a few feet away while the rest of the posse is startled awake. She barges into the barn. Horses are going wild, wide, crazy eyes rolling in terror. Bucking, whinnying, screaming. And the screaming too. Oh, there's Ned. Some beast has pinned him to the floor. Big as a man, standing on two legs, clawed hands raised over its and Ned's heads poised for the killing blow. Teresa pulls back both hammers on Giselle's coach gun. The beast turns at the sound, just as Teresa pulls on both triggers. The grisly scene is lit by the flash of the muzzle for the briefest moment. Teresa's struck by the beast's wolfish visage as the buckshot slams into it. With a pained whine, the beast is knocked off of Ned. It scrabbles through a broken sideboard, likely the same way it surprised poor old Ned. The rest of the posse are close behind Teresa now. Aloysius is the first to speak up. What's going on here?
Oh, Lord! I'm dying!
What happened to him? Speak, girl.
It was the biggest darn coyote I ever saw. It was bigger than Ned, for sure. It stood on two legs, but I'm sure it was a coyote. Or maybe a wolf. I've never seen a wolf before up close. Anyhow, I hit him, I'm sure of it.
All right, Moses, you come with me. Let's see if we can find this coyote. While the two of them look for signs of where the beast went, Giselle and Bearkiller do what they can to make Ned comfortable. His wounds are grave, however. Ned isn't going to leave this barn, though he may linger on a few days more if he's unlucky. Aloysius and Moses come back a short while later. Well, you definitely winged him. Trail of blood heading out to the tree line. No sense chasing after it this time of night, though, especially since we put it on the run.
No, that can't be right. I hit him in the chest with both barrels. I'm sure of it.
All evidence to the contrary. Bearkiller pokes up and looks hard at Teresa. Are you sure of your aim, woman?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure of it.
My people, we tell stories of a spirit. A cursed creature. It can take the form of a man by day as easily as it takes the form of the beast by night. This wicked creature can't be killed with bullets. You need powerful medicine. We shouldn't stay here. A beast after dark? I was once familiar with a lady like that back east. Go ahead and laugh, funny man. Laugh if it soothes your disposition. They say he who laughs best, but there's always one more sniggering along at your japery. Oh yes, old Scratch and Red Hell below. He'll keep on laughing when you're in dark days, when creatures of the night creep out from under your bed, when they reach out with talon claws and pluck the covers from round your neck. Old Scratch keep laughing at you when the buzzards pick you clean, when all that's left is your gleaming, grinning white skull. Then Scratch will be laughing last indeed. Right. We'll stand vigil for Ned tonight, but we've got to leave after those Kelly boys at first light.
Oh, please, Allie wishes. Don't let me go alone to my eternal reward.
Damn fool needs looking after. I won't have nobody dying alone on my land. Y'all stay here tonight, but you'll have to go after them Kelly boys by your lonesome. Morning comes inexorably forward, chasing the darkness away for a time. What's left of the posse, Caldwell, Buchanan, McCluskey, and Bear Killer, light out for the Carruthers' homestead. Opting for some more mobility, Giselle asks Moses if he wouldn't mind looking after her cart. She'll ride her horse directly, and Teresa can take up old Ned's nag. Without Ned to lead the way, they have to pick up Kelly's trail themselves. Fortune smiles on the posse. Them Kelly boys never were clean on picking up after themselves. The late Frank Carruthers lies face down in the dirt, crows picking away at his earthly remains. Signs of horse all around. Seems Ned was telling the truth when he said the gang was out in force the day before. They'll be easy to follow. The posse debates for some minutes about whether or not they should bury Carruthers. Bear Killer insists that Frank's spirit must surely be tormented by the carrion pickers, but the posse argue that Frank wouldn't want him to waste any time rescuing his wife. And so they leave him, lying face down in blood and dust. The trail of the Kelly boys leads into the hills after the abandoned silver mine, carving a path through a canyon. Aloysius' battle-honed instincts suspect this is a prime spot for an ambush, and sure enough, he casts his gaze up the cliffs and catches the gleam of a rifle drawing a bead on Bear Killer. Aloysius gives Bear Killer a shove off his horse just as the crack of a rifle sounds out, echoing off the canyon walls. Bear Killer's horse goes wild at the sound, galloping off into the hills. Not to be left behind, the rest of the posse urges their horses on as Giselle scoops Bear Killer up onto her own mare. They ride hard, gunfire held during the arrival into the heart of the hills. Soon they're out of rifle range, and the danger is past, but only for a moment. The posse surmises the rifleman must have been a lookout from the Kelly gang. The rest of the boys must be camped out not far from here. Surely they heard the shots and will be along directly. The canyon trail forks into two paths, one leading up the hill, presumably where the Kelly boys will be riding from. The other path leads to the abandoned silver mine. It'd be suicide to ride up to the Kelly's camp, outmanned, outgunned, and outpositioned as they are. Likewise, riding back the way they came would be a shooting gallery they'd be lucky to come home from in a pine box. So the posse decide to ride to the mine, hoping to find some cover, or at least to entrench themselves and make a stand. Unfortunately, there isn't much cover at all to the entrance to the mine, nothing more than a yawning maw, inky blackness threatening to swallow them up. The posse dismounts to enter the mine, but as they do, the horses catch wind of something foul. Giselle does her best to calm them, but the horses won't hear of it. They run out back the way they came. Nothing for it, the posse enter the mine, one lantern between them to keep close as they march into the hillside. The opening tunnel goes straight some 60 or 70 yards before gently bending. Anybody who'd want to advance on them would have to cross a killing field. It's a suitable location for a holdout, but the posse are low on supplies. All them Kelly boys would have to do is wait them out. None of them are familiar with the lay of the mine itself, but surmise there may be another way out. There's a rickety old lift in here, and no other way out that they can find. However, there may be another cave or perhaps a ventilation shaft deeper in the mine, so they decide to go have a look-see down. The lift is too decrepit to send more than one person down at a time. As Teresa's here looking for her brother Terrence, she volunteers to go down first. They give her the lantern and let her down easy, slowly, gently into the pitch-black shaft. The glow of the lantern recedes until it cannot be discerned. Teresa makes it to the bottom without incident and sees that the mechanism to raise the lift is broken on this side. She decides to wait until Aloysius pulls her back up, and she explains the predicament. If they all go down there won't be a way back up. They'll be cornered down there in the dark, at the mercy of the Kelly gang. As if on cue, the posse hears the thunderous rumbling of hoofbeats advancing on the mine. The Kelly gang has arrived to call them on account. Aloysius inches around the bend, daring to sneak a peek at the end of the tunnel. The Kelly gang must already suspect they're within. They won't cross in front of the tunnel entrance. Still, they dismount. The posse hears the dull thud of boots and jangling spurs as one of them advances.
"Hey, Caldwell! That you in there, you son bitch?"
"Jim Kelly, is that you?" Come a little closer. I can't quite make you out. No, sir. I'm pretty comfortable right here. Let me enjoy this moment here, having you over a barrel and all. Bunch of sitting ducks is what you is. Couldn't leave well enough alone. You're the sitting duck. Look up on the ridge here, but no sudden movements. My posse has you and yours surrounded. Hell, Caldwell, I seen your horses ride out without y'alls. You's all trapped in there, that cave. Ain't no two ways about it. You think I'm stupid or something? Well, I wouldn't think you was stupid if you didn't keep opening your mouth and proving it. You always were quick, Caldwell. Maybe a little too quick. Let's see if you're quicker than this. Y'all hear that? Best you come out here with your hands up before I show you the business end of this here dynamite. Aloysius takes a quick look around his posse before he cracks half a smirk. All right, Jim. I'm coming out. Both pistols drawn, Aloysius strides to the entrance of the cave. One of the Kellys jumps out from his cover and takes aim at the gunslinger, but Aloysius is quicker, puts him down like a rabid dog. Jim Kelly himself leans around the timber, holding up the mouth of the cave, and takes a shot at Aloysius. The ball finds his shoulder, and Aloysius stumbles. Kelly cocks his weapon and fires again, this time finding Aloysius' thigh. The gunslinger sinks to his knees. Smug as you please, Jim Kelly walks into the tunnel, Griswold in one hand, dynamite in the other. You got any last words there, Caldwell? Yeah. You really are stupid, ain't ya? Aloysius brings up his gun hand and fires. Jim Kelly's eyes widen as the bullet slams into the dynamite he's holding. The ensuing explosion can be heard for miles as it engulfs Jim, Aloysius, and the entire Kelly gang. The mine entrance shudders and groans. The timbers holding the stone above the posse's head were blown away in the explosion, and a scant few seconds later begins to collapse. Giselle, Teresa, and Bear Killer huddle together as hell rains down around them. The fear is short-lived as the collapse comes to an end, but fear gives way to dread. They're trapped in here. Without the pressure of the Kelly gang bearing down on them, they decide that they don't really have a choice but to look for another way out deeper into the mine. Bear Killer agrees to operate the lift for Giselle and Teresa while they look for a way out. The ladies soon find their way deeper into the mine's branches off in all sorts of directions. They won't entertain the idea of splitting up for fear of getting lost and decide to stick together. Giselle holds on to her coach gun while Teresa holds the lantern, and together they hold each other's hand. Sometime through their search through the labyrinthine darkness, they encounter a figure huddled up on the ground against a wall. Teresa shines the lantern on them, and Giselle recognizes them as Carol Carruthers. As they untie her, Carol explains the Kelly gang stashed her down here, perhaps hoping to ransom her off. Teresa asks if she's seen anyone else down here, and Carol tells her that a young man was also held captive. The gang never did say what they were doing with him, but they did take him someplace deeper into the mine. Given that they haven't found another way out yet, the ladies decide to head deeper into the mine. Perhaps they'll find this other captive alive, and Teresa holds out hope that it'll be her Terrence. As they trudge deeper into the dark, the air gets staler, more oppressive. The stones give off an eerie red flicker from the dim light of their lantern, and there's a whiff of sulfur on the air. It's becoming uncomfortably warm, and the air threatens to choke the life right out of them. They can't shake the feeling that each step brings them closer to hell itself. Somewhere in the distance, they realize they can hear a noise, metal striking stone. It repeats at a regular rhythm, and they come to believe it sounds like a miner toiling down here. The noise gets louder as they approach the source. At the edge of the lantern's glow, they see the gleam of metal, a chain driven into the stone, shackled around a man's ankle. Teresa raises the lantern and illuminates a young man clad only in his trousers, swinging a pickaxe at the wall with his back to them. "Terrence? Is that you?" The man pauses, lowering the pickaxe to his side. He turns slowly and regards the woman. "Dear sister." "Terrence, it's so good to see you. What the blazes are you doing here?" "I had to come, sister. I felt the call. He told me I could save you if I came to Bone Gulch." "Who said?" "I think you know, sis." Teresa McCluskey cast her gaze around. The red of stone, the tang of brimstone. She knew, but she dare not say his name.
Come on, Terrence. Let's get you out of those shackles and find a way out of here. Wouldn't that be nice, brother? Let's go home together.
Terrence picked up his axe and started to work again. You remember that night in the woods all those years ago? Well, he came to me then. He said you'd be in terrible danger, that there was only one way to save you. A devil's bargain.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. I came here to save you. Now let's go find the way out of here.
There's only one way out, sister. Terrence swings his axe against the stone and the earth shudders around them. The wall begins to crumble away, revealing a narrow passage. A rushing torrent of water flows through the passage. Terrence grabs his sister in one last embrace before shoving her into the river. Terrence, you bastard! The collapse begins as stones from the ceiling rain down around them. I'm so sorry. I had to save her. It was the only way. It's over as soon as it starts. Giselle, Carol, and Terrence buried under 1,000 tons of stone. In a pond in a meadow not far from Bone Gulch, butterflies dance in the sunshine. Birds sing and flowers bloom. With an unceremonious splash, Teresa breaches the surface. Spluttering, she drags herself to the shore where she collapses, chest heaving, still trying to catch her breath. She lay there on the edge of the pond for some time. She closes her eyes as she drifts away. A moment later, she opens her eyes. Birds are singing just out her window as she shakes the sleep from her bones. Some half-remembered dream clings to her like cobwebs, but soon fades from her memory. She rises from the bed and spies an envelope on her vanity. Crossing the room, she unseals it and reads, Dear sister, I must go to Bone Gulch, Wyoming. Don't try to follow me. Yours, Terrence. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the story, be sure to like this video or subscribe to my channel. Next week I hope to resume our regular Chaos and Fist Dungeons & Dragons game, but if you have an idea for another game you'd like me to try out, leave a note in the comments. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.